Okay, hello everybody. Welcome. It's Chris Johnstone here, and welcome to our customers only bonus live webinar training. I think that you're absolutely going to love today's training. So you should be able to hear my voice. You should be able to see the screen. And give me just 1 second here. We're going to cue this up. And hopefully we're not going to break it. There it is. All right, cool. So, hey, it's Chris, and welcome. We've still got a couple of people joining us, but we're going to hop right in because as always, you get access to these webinars and the recordings of them. So. Any questions that you have while we're going through the process, just type those into the chat panel. So there's a questions tab, there's also a chat tab. You can punch them into either one of those and I will answer your questions as you have them. So if you could let me know that you can see me and the screen where it says it's all about the ROI, and just type into the chat yes. Make sure you can hear me okay, make sure that you can see the screen. And awesome. Mike, awesome. Great to see you here. David, good. Marley, good. Ashley, good. Okay. And I think I definitely need to take a second and recognize Ashley, the wonderful and talented Ashley and Marley as well. But without them, we wouldn't be here on the webinar. So we got a massive notification from GoToWebinar about an hour ago that their system was totally down. So they're having some pretty big issues, and Ashley was actually able to get a technician. And so our account is up and running, but there is a pretty massive outage on GoToWebinar. So way to go, Ashley, for getting us all here together. And with that, we're going to hop right into the content. And as we're going on this, make sure that you follow along and ask any questions. Troy, what's up, brother? Great to see you. And what we're going to be doing today is talking about ROI. And this is going to be obviously a behind the curtains chat just between us as business owners. And I've never, I've presented this information once at a Freedom Club meeting, and I never really talk about it all that much in public just because it's a higher level business concept that a lot of people have to graduate to. So it's really hard to teach somebody this concept and get them on board. They kind of already have to want the information, and then you can teach it. So bear with me, because teaching this stuff is it's one of my first times doing this, but I can tell you that what I'm sharing with you here today and what we're teaching and what you're learning here today is going to be a fundamental concept if you want like scalable future growth that you can control in your mortgage business. So if you have lofty goals, which if you're one of our customers, chances are very good that you have lofty goals for your mortgage business. I want to help you get those goals, and it is the understanding of math that is going to get you there in relation to digital marketing. So there's 3 ways to grow a mortgage business. You've got your past customers, right? And if you're on our new agent legend system, we can help you market to your past customers, but there becomes a law of diminishing returns on your database. There's only so many people in the database. The only way that you can grow it is by funding more loans, and that is kind of like the end system. And most businesses in the mortgage business, once they mature to the point where they're 3 or 4 or 5 years in the business, most professionals that I talk to are almost solely reliant on their past customers to grow their business. And that's not scalable. It's actually very risky, because if people don't decide to refer you, you have no way to turn up the dial to get more of those customers. So absolutely every single one of you should have a database marketing program in place right now. You should be following up with those people, doing the mailers, all those wonderful things. If you're not in the Freedom Club with Carl White, you should definitely get information on joining that program if you can, because they are excellent at that. But because we're just focused here on digital marketing, we have to realize and just look at that as a little bit of a stumbling block or something that could come up in the future that we need to protect against. It's not scalable. The second area that you have to grow your business with is referrals from realtors, right? And that is part of this system. We're helping you to generate real estate leads. We're helping you to generate the leads that you need in order to build and maintain those relationships. Now, that is absolutely a scalable system, and you should be putting more realtors into your business, right? That's totally scalable, takes a lot of effort, right? So past customer database, realtor referrals, and advertising. Those are the three ways that you have to grow your business. And advertising is the most consistent and most reliable way to turn up the dial to scale your business to the level that you choose. And it is one of the only areas that you have to grow in your business where you can actually fully control the dial. Most people, when they look at digital advertising, feel like they're throwing money into a black hole, crossing their fingers and hoping that they fund deals on the back end. Today is about eliminating that feeling of the black hole of advertising and empowering you with the tools that you need to track what we're helping you to do, so that at the end of the quarter, at the end of half a year, at the end of a year, you can look back and say, hey, I just returned an 800% return on investment from my advertising. Every time I put $1 into ads, I return $8 in profit. I'm going to double down or reinvest, or here's exactly how much money I have to put into advertising in order to hit this many customers and this many fundings, right? And our business is fundamentally built on that. We take money invested in advertising, create a return on investment through business systems, and use that to fuel our growth. And I want you essentially to have our system so that you can actually map out, using our systems, the growth of your income so that you can come back to us and give us the scale that you want inside your advertising. So am I making sense so far? I realize that was a little bit of a higher level concept, but basically I'm going to give you the math so that you can map out what your return on investment is going to be over the long term from the system. So success with digital marketing comes from the combination of three things. The first is consistency. So it's very difficult to make advertising work in the long run, especially Facebook advertising, if you're turning it on for 30 days and then shutting it off, and then turning it on for 30 days and then shutting it off, or running a campaign and then stopping a campaign, running a campaign and stopping a campaign. All that does is creates these like rainbows of income and rainbows of results. We know that the Facebook algorithm does not do well with starts and stops. It needs steady, consistent fuel so that it can do the math on how to get results. Who is your perfect customer? Who is your perfect audience? The more clicks that you get, the more comments and likes and shares and engagement that you get, the more that it learns, the more conversions that you get, the smarter it gets. And the longer that you run it on a consistent basis, the smarter that it gets. And the longer that you're able to run your campaigns, even if you're running a very small budget, $5, $10, $15 a day, by the time you're in that campaign for 45 days or 60 days or 90 days, your pixel, which is tracking how many people are responding to your offer, has started to figure out and started to evolve to the point where it knows on Facebook who's the most likely to convert on your offer. Facebook wants to get you the best conversions. So when you have a competitor that enters into your marketplace and they're bidding and trying to get the same person, okay? If that somebody has had an ad campaign running, shut it off, and they're restarting a new campaign, they're at the start line again. If you've just been steady and consistent, even at a small budget, every single day, generating those conversions through your campaign, okay, you're going to get the traffic and they're going to have to pay more to get their pixel to the point where yours is. So what you'll see, and many of you have already been through this process, where we started off and your ad cost was, let's say, $10 a lead or $11 a lead or whatever it is. And then 45 days hits and all of a sudden it goes down to $9. And then you get another 15 or 30 days in on the system and then it drops by another couple of dollars, right? The longer that you're able to run that campaign, the lower your cost per lead gets and the higher the quality of the lead is that comes through the system. And you've got to have the consistency in the advertising in order to do that. Now, the other reason why consistency is so important is for the business growth, because we're dealing here with Facebook ads. So it's different than Google. When somebody calls you from a Google campaign, they've searched mortgage lender and they're calling you because you're one of the best rated in the industry, right? So we know that that person's at the end of the buying cycle because they searched mortgage lender and they're calling. On Facebook, we know that they're interested in getting a mortgage or buying a piece of real estate because they're looking at real estate websites, they're looking at mortgage-based websites, and they're responding to our ad, right? But we don't know if they're looking to buy something this week or in 9 months from now. And there's really no way to filter that out other than your autoresponder system. And you can't, it's not like we're selling shoes, right? We can't convince somebody that buying a house is a really good idea because it's got an awesome kitchen and just have somebody make a snap decision to, pull out their wallet and put it on a credit card, right? They have to want to buy the home. So our advertising is never going to get somebody to the point where we're going to convince them to do what we need them to do in order for us to close a loan. What we have to do is look at our advertising from the mentality of, look, we're going to go into this audience and we are going to be the absolute best at the highest quality advertising so that when that person is ready, we are the obvious first choice. And the longer that you run your ads, the larger that you get your database and the more consistent that you are with your follow-up, and the Agent Legend LO system is going to do that for you, right? You don't need to worry about that. Just plug your leads into the system. It does the consistent follow-up so that you're converting people from 9 months ago today from follow-up that you triggered 9 months ago. So just turning it on and not being consistent with it and going in starts and stops hurts on a number of different levels. So consistency, key. Tracking, okay? Tracking gives you the power over your mind, okay? Because when it comes to digital advertising, it's scary, especially in the first 30 days, because what you're doing is you're investing in advertising without really knowing who's going to come through the funnel. And just like we talked about 2 weeks ago, the large majority of the people that come through your funnel are going to be disinterested, disengaged, whatever, right? Statistically speaking, 40% of the people that go through Agent Legend are responding back to us. That means on the flip side of it, right, 60% of the people never respond, right? So when you're investing in digital advertising and 60% of the people aren't responding to you immediately when you're following up with them, your brain naturally goes, hey, wait a minute, but these people are no good, right? But we know it's a numbers game. It's all about whittling that down to the point where you've got 10% that are engaged and interested and moving forward in the process. And if you're not tracking that, your brain will automatically tell you, hey, the majority of the people going through this aren't responding. This probably isn't working. Let's mess with it. Let's mess with the consistency, right? Let's try and turn it up or turn it down, or let's mess with it, right? If you track the numbers over 30 days and then 60 days and then 90 days, and you calculate ROI rather than how many leads did I get and how many didn't talk to me, when you focus on the right metrics and you track it properly, and you can say every dollar in, I got whatever it is, $5, $7, $10 out on the back end, you see it as an investment. And the tracking gives you the ability to have the discipline, right? And the discipline is to say, okay, I'm not going to track this on a daily basis. I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to use the spreadsheet. And every month, I'm going to look at how many leads did I generate? How many people did I put in the pipeline? What am I forecasting from the system? And then quarterly, what's my ROI? Half a year, what's my ROI? Because the longer you track the ROI, the longer you're consistent with the system, the more profitable it becomes. So these are the three things that really are fundamental to getting over the mind block of digital advertising and actually being successful. And this is not conceptual for me. So I've been running online ads and doing lead conversion in the mortgage space, but also in my own business for 11 years now. And every so often, you know, every half year, I'll have to check myself and be like, look, track the numbers. What's the numbers? What's the ROI? Go back, make sure that my tracking systems are, you know, that I have the discipline to be tracking. And you know, I'm thankful now that we have a team that helps us track all those metrics. But as soon as you go back to the math, it's totally empowering. And you realize that the dollars in really do equate to dollars out, but you got to get out of the daily grind of the business to actually look at the numbers. So this is taken from how I track my numbers in the business. And if you want, just type yes into the chat panel and I'll send you this. And you can like take the Google document or the Google sheet or whatever and just copy it and then, you know, modify it for your particular system, right? So you can take this and use it to track your own numbers. So here in the business, every Friday, we do a sales meeting, a sales and marketing meeting. And these are the core metrics that we start with, and then we take it back to number of closed deals and all that kind of stuff. So this is literally how I do it in my business. So what we do is we track our total advertising spend. And that number, you can't see it on the bottom, but this is actually broken down into separate tabs. So this is the main tab that calculates all of the information. But on the bottom, I also have a tab for Facebook, I have a tab for Google, we have a tab for Instagram, we have a tab for all of the different traffic sources that I invest money into every month. And we break down the individual numbers. Now it's the same map out, it's just different numbers for each traffic source. And then we track our deal flow back to our source. So we can tell what our ROI is on Facebook, what our ROI is on Google, what our ROI is on all of the other traffic systems that we have. So all of those sheets along the bottom funnel into this one master sheet that gives us the total health of the advertising in the business, okay? So up at the top, it says total advertising spend. That's across all networks, how much money I invest into advertising. And this is done by week, okay? Then total management cost. For us, it's essentially our staffing costs of the managers that we have that manage the system internally. For you, that total management cost is our monthly fee, then broken down by the week, so that you can take a look at that on a weekly basis as far as how much you're paying for management. Then you look at the total leads that were generated through the system. That's going to fluctuate, especially when you're tracking it on a weekly basis. You know, you're going to see minor fluctuations on a monthly, but again, the broader that you get on your tracking. So when you start tracking this quarterly, it's almost scary how you can, like once you establish what your cost per lead is on a quarterly basis, you're almost like bang on your metrics every quarter, like dollars in, number of leads generated, and then the rest of the metrics. So on a weekly basis, you're going to see a bit of a larger fluctuation than you will on a quarterly basis. But this gives you the ability to just pinpoint any problems that are going on or campaigns that aren't firing, anything like that. Then out of the total ad spend and the total management cost, you then calculate out your total cost per lead. So you know how much you spent, how many leads came through, what you're spending per lead in the system. Then from there, we track the follow-up metrics of what came into the team. So total conversations. So that means of a lead that was generated. So for you, we're generating leads that are either opting in for one of our campaign offerings, right? We've got a number of different offerings. Many of you are in different programs. So some are real estate based, some are mortgage based. It all depends, but you're getting a lead, right? How many of those leads are actually responding back? And those of you that are running the Agent Legendello system, you can log into your dashboard and actually see how many responses you got from all the messages that were sent out. Some of you are using Jungo, some of you are using assistants that are tracking their own personal metrics. Wherever you're getting those numbers from, punch them into this master sheet so that you know what your conversion rate was from leads that you generated into total conversations that you had with, let's say, conversations or prospects, right? Then you get a conversion percentage. How many of your leads turned into a conversation? And then your cost per what we call a consultation. So when somebody calls in and talks to a representative here at the company, we consider that a consultation, and we associate a dollar cost per consultation that comes into the business. Now, of the consultations that you do or sales presentations that you present, you're going to then take people to the next level where they'll say either this isn't for me, or you'll take the app and they don't fit in the box or whatever it is. But what you're looking to do is associate, okay, how many people basically said, I'm not interested? You get rid of them, and then you take the people that said, yeah, you know what, I'm interested in going through the pre-approval process. So you track how many conversations you have, how many pre-approvals you took over the phone. Now, not everybody in that pre-approval stage is going to fit. There's going to be people with bad credit. You got to, refer them over to credit repair, get them into credit repair, or whatever it is. That doesn't really matter. If they've said, yes, I want to go through the mortgage process, that means that the marketing has brought you somebody that has purchase intent, and we count that as essentially a pre-approval, right? So once you get the pre-approvals for the week and then track out to the month, you then have a conversion percentage. How many of the conversations turned into pre-approvals? And then that gives you a cost per pre-approval that you're bringing into the business. And then closings. How many of those people actually fit in the box? Then you refer them out to a realtor, right? Or they're already working with a realtor. They have to go find the house, right? So you get them pre-qualified. They're going to go out, they're going to find the house, then they're going to come back. It could take 30, 60, 90 days. You know the business better than I do in your marketplace. There's a life cycle to that that's natural, right? So that person has to go out, find that thing that they're going to buy, and then come back to you and close and fund the loan. So you need to know how many people are in your pipeline and then how many people are actually closing, because that gives you your conversion percentage. Now, I don't want to give you too much information here, but we track two metrics at this stage. What we track is our forecasted pipeline. So every week, the people that come through and say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead, or the people that get pre-qualified, we put their names in the bottom of the sheet. There's a notes section that we keep at the bottom where all the leads go in there. So we're tracking that so that we can associate back when the deal closes. We know, okay, it closed at this time. How long has that person been in the pipeline? And then we can actually go back and track our true metrics based on the specific date as far as when the deals came in and how many of those people actually closed. So we personally track that on two different levels, as far as like a pipeline forecast, as well as what actually funded through the system, as far as the leads that came to the system on that date. I don't think you need to be that advanced with it. I'm just really numbers focused, if you can't tell. From there, you're able to establish your conversion percentage on your total leads. So that'll be from the pre-approvals that you've got to funded loans, and then you can also calculate that back to the total number of leads that you generated. So if you had 100 leads, you do 4 closings, that gives you a conversion ratio of 4% of your leads to actual closings. Now, that is a good rough number to shoot for on this system. We're seeing people pretty consistently kind of hitting those metrics after they've been on the program like 90, 120 days. Those are kind of the metrics as far as where they roll out to or whatever. So if you're hitting those numbers, you're doing a good job, and that's where we'd like to see you. So obviously some are doing better, some are doing a little bit worse. It's all about how you're doing those follow-up systems. So once you've done that, you're then able to get your cost per closing as far as how much you spent on advertising, how much you spent on management to produce each closing. And then you take that and you look at how much you processed as far as either gross or net profit in your business, whatever number you want to look at, and then you can calculate out your return on investment, right? So this is how the numbers break down, and then you just add up the totals at the end, do your division, and you've got your total numbers as far as this is how much I invested, this is how much I closed, and this is what my pipeline is forecasting inside those actual numbers. All right, how are we doing on time here? Awesome. So these are the metrics that you're tracking: cost per lead and the total number of leads that came through the system, the leads to conversation, conversations to pre-approval, applications to closing, and then finally the fifth is your return on investment. So when you look at scaling the business, once you've tracked these for 60, 90 days, you can then say, here are my specific metrics for my business. And this is going to give you, again, a rough idea as to where you want your pipeline. And this also gives you the ability to establish if you have any holes in your follow-up or your pipeline. So you get your total leads up at the top, and you're going to have a specific cost per lead, which is going to go down over time as we manage your campaigns, right? Then you get lead to conversation. Roughly 40% of the leads that we're putting into that Agent Legend LO system are coming back, right? So we get a 40% lead to conversation. Could be a text message conversation, could be a phone conversation, could be an email conversation, right? But we're communicating back and forth about the offer to that person. Then taking roughly 20% of those conversations to pre-approval. Some people aren't going to fit in the box. Those numbers, again, how many of those people you're actually going to fit in is going to be a little bit different in your marketplace, but track what the number is so that you know statistically what you're aiming for. And then this number is actually a lot higher, we find, with a lot of the reports that we're getting back. Once you take an application from somebody, whether they're from Facebook or whether they're for a referral or whatever, that number is pretty much the same as to what you're closing in your business right now. So for the applications that you take normally in your business, how many of those end up funding? You can basically set the exact same metric as a goal with what you're doing here with these Facebook leads in this Facebook system, and that will give your application to closing ratio, and then you can calculate out your ROI. So that's basically how you're going to plan out your scale, so you know every month I'm going to invest X amount in advertising and I'm going to return X amount of deals and profit in the business. Now, to map out your system, you just take how much profit do you make per deal. Everybody's going to be different, but typically speaking, we try and use a number of $2,500 because we find that to be like the lower mid of the marketplace. There's definitely some marketplaces where the commissions are less, but we find it's kind of like a good round number that everybody can kind of get around or find helpful. So if we take those numbers, sorry, just one second. Okay, so if we take these numbers and we say we're doing 100 total leads a month, right? We're taking 40% of those to a conversation, which is 40 calls. We're taking 20% of those 40 people into a pre-approval, which is 8. We're taking half of those into an actual closing, which gives us 4 deals for every 100 leads that are coming through the system at $2,500 commission per deal. That gives us a total return of $10,000. So now what we can do is we can take that number and work it backwards. So we can say, okay, our goal is 4 deals a month at $2,500 a month at a 300% ROI. Okay, you can invest $2,500 to acquire every 100 leads and 4 deals. So that means if you're spending the $1,000 a month for management and then $1,500 in advertising, which will get you definitely more than 100 leads. But even if those are the numbers, right? And you've set a goal of a 300% ROI, that means that your maximum investment per lead would be $25 per lead, okay? So that's how in our business, we know what a customer is worth to us. So let's say that's $2,500. we take that $2,500 goal and we work it backwards to establish, okay, I can spend $25 for every lead that comes through my system. And as long as I hit my metrics, as long as I know that I'm hitting the 40% conversation rate, 20% conversion rate, as long as those metrics are being met and you're tracking them on a weekly basis, you know, as long as you hit your metrics and you're less than $25 a lead, you're making more than a 300% ROI on your money. So you only really have to do this math once. Take the time, lay it out, do the math for your specific situation on what you want your ROI to be, and then you know your numbers. You know what you have to hit as far as the number of people that you need to talk to, the number of pre-quals that you need, and the number of deals that you need to put into your pipeline every month. Okay? So this next little section here is me doing some quick math. So I took this and I was just working out, so yesterday I had a call with a client that was on the system, and I did this math over the phone with them. And I thought that this would actually be pretty worthwhile to kind of get us around the head games of this thing. Now, I realize that we're a couple of minutes over. So that is the end of our official content here for the presentation, but I thought that this would be helpful for you. So I wanted to add it and more have a conversation around it than anything else. Because this is essentially how the math works out for us when we launch a system in our business. So I'm going to move this just to make sure that you can see it, and I apologize that this is off the slide, but I just put this together for our conversational purposes, right? So this is the months of the system, and I've got mapped out here 4 months on the system. And I'm going to extrapolate this out and put it into like a beautiful graph and whatever, but this is us just figuring out the math and I did this while I was on the phone with this client yesterday. So up front to run the system was $2,500. So that includes the $1,500 setup and then $1,000 in actual paid marketing. And for that, I said, okay, let's say you're getting 100 leads per month, right? It was more than that, but I need round numbers because I'm not a math whiz. I'm not a math whiz, right? So let's take it down from what you're actually getting. You got 100 leads, and it's safe to say that we've got 4 people that are coming into the pipeline. And it had basically turned out that that was roughly what was going to come into the pipeline, or the number of decent quality conversations that had happened on the system. All at different stages within the game, right? But no closings. So that means in the first month, there's minus $2,500 in profit. You've invested $2,500 into a system. You've got 100 leads in a database, 4 people that are kicking around in your actual pipeline, but nothing's really happening as far as money in the bank. And that's what everybody kind of gets focused on in the first 30 to 60 days, right? And as it should be, right? So then we go into month number 2, right? And the management is $1,000 a month and another $1,000 in advertising. So at that point, we now have 200 leads that have come into the funnel, and we've got 8 people in the pipeline, 4 from the first month, 4 from the second 100, plus we got another one from the first month. That's typically how it works, right? Because you put them into the Legend LO system. Somebody that didn't convert in the first 30 days is going to call you back at like the 40 or 45 day window. They're interested. They're going to go into the pipeline and do a pre-approval, right? There's this snowball effect that happens with it, but still no closings, right? Nobody has actually found a house yet. Nobody's funded. You haven't generated an ROI yet. So now we're at minus $4,500 on the system. You know, some of us, you know, we look at that. I mean, we've got people in Southern California that go, no biggie, I close half a deal, you know, or whatever. So that's a bad nerd joke. But for some people, you know, you put $4,500 out on something. I mean, that's a pretty sweet car payment for, you know, 4 or 5 months on a pretty nice ride. So if you're looking at, you know, investing and giving Mark Zuckerberg money or driving around in a nice car, $4,500 is a lot of money to invest in something. But watch what happens in month 3. That's when you start to turn the corner. You hit the 90-day mark and your pipeline starts to build. Remember the consistency conversation that we had at the beginning of this, right? The discipline to get to the level where your consistency pays off and you were rewarded for the risk, you are rewarded for the effort that you've put into the system, okay? You put another $2,000 into the system, 1,000 for management, 1,000 for ads, you've got 300 leads in the pipeline. It's 4 from the first month, 4 from the second month, 4 from the third month. That takes us to a total of 12, plus another 2. Another one that's going to kick from the first 100 leads that came through, and another one that's going to kick in from the second month. Somebody that's gotten to that 40, 45-day mark, they call in, they're now ready to go. So you've got 14 people in your pipeline, and you're going to fund 2 deals. Maybe 2 from the first, 2 from the second, whatever it is. It's kind of weird like that, but you end up with 2 closings that come in. So if we're making $2,500 per deal, that means that we've cashed $5,000 off the system, and we're now negative $1,500, okay? Now we'll watch what happens in month number 4. We invest another $2,000. We go to 400 leads in the system. That number is actually wrong. So 400 leads in the system, 16 plus 3 in the pipeline, right? 1 from each month before. So that gives you 19 deals in the pipeline. You close 5 deals from your pipeline of the 14 that's before, and that takes you to a profit of $11,500 on the total investment in the system. Thereafter, your closings continue to go up. Your investment stays the same. Your snowball is complete. That's when digital marketing gets to be fun. And I can tell you, if you look statistically at the agency side of the business and people that sell to small business owners and digital marketing services. So there's this huge digital marketing services conference called Traffic and Conversion. I went to it down in San Diego this year while we were down there. And the average statistic is that the average small business owner will try a marketing system for less than 90 days, okay? On average. It's like general industry knowledge. These guys talk about it behind closed doors. Typically speaking, somebody tries a marketing system for 90 days and then either quits or tries something different, like the whole squirrel effect, right? Like, oh, hey, Instagram ads or whatever. And look at the numbers as to where the actual success starts coming. Because once you get there, you can't stop if you're tracking the numbers. If you're tracking the numbers and you actually know what's happening inside the business as a result of the advertising and the leads that are coming in, that's how you calculate out your return on investment on a system. And it's just beautiful every month after that. You know, we went through this with a client that that's in the business, and so they are on another marketing system of ours, but it was about getting to these numbers in the business. And as soon as you get to the ROI calculation on a big enough window, it really kind of opens your mind up to what this actually is. But you got to have the discipline. You've got to have the consistency to allow the system to work. And don't get caught up in the weeds of like, what campaign type am I running? It's investment in, leads come out, pipeline does its thing, track the ROI. And that's exactly how we do it in our business. And you should be doing this, in my personal opinion, just like we track Google and Facebook and all the other lead sources. You should attribute each lead source in your business to these type of metrics. Another thing, and then we'll wrap up after this final point. I apologize that we're going long, but it looks like everybody's enjoying the content. So if you take this and you map it back to each deal source, you'll be able to calculate out the lifetime customer value of a funded loan. And if you look at how many referrals you get in your business every year and who they came from, you will also be able to statistically average out how many referrals you get for each customer that you have in your database. I think the industry standard is like, it should be like you get 2 referrals for every 1 like motivated referral person in your database. I forget, they have a score for it. But it's like every person that's had a 4-star or better experience in your business should send you 2 customers a year. And you can use that to kind of map out, oh, hey, I just funded a loan. If I take this system and I put them into my past customer database marketing system, that person isn't just worth $2,500. They're actually worth the $2,500 transaction, the $2,500 referral, and the $2,500 second referral per year. So you can actually calculate out, wow, that wasn't a $2,500 deal, that was a $7,500 deal plus. And the longer your business runs, the more people you funnel into it, the more advertising that you spend, the more customers that you have, the more marketing that you do to your database. That's how you get that nice, healthy, scalable, beautiful business growth that we want for you. So hopefully that you enjoyed that. And to everybody on this list, I'm going to make sure that you get this Google document. So I'm just going to share the open link, and then we will email it out to you. That will either come from your account manager or it will come from me personally. I will make sure that you get access to that list. So with that, we're gonna hop off. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time here with us. I hope that you're absolutely loving the system. If you've got any feedback, that's what these calls are for. So if you have any questions or you need any help, just let us know. And thank you for your business. And don't forget, if you know somebody that would benefit from a system like this, send us their contact information. Just email your account manager or email me, chris@connectionincorporated.com. And we'd be happy to thank you in a special way for sending that referral over to us. So make sure if you know anybody that could benefit from this, you let us know. So with that, have a great day, everybody. And this is Chris Johnstone signing off. We'll talk to you soon.